Okay, so I literally have butterflies in my stomach right now. If you are just hopping on now, I gotta be honest, this is a little bit of a different live than I've ever done before. Normally when I go live on social media, I am showing the kids feeding ducks, or it's someplace that we're at, or I'm talking about products and this business that's totally and completely changed my life. And that's what I'm talking about. And I guess what I want to say is, this all came to me because the other night we were celebrating Jack's birthday on, and I'm going to remove the comments just so I don't get distracted. Sorry. We were celebrating Jack's birthday on Saturday, and I had already gone running in the morning. I promise there's a point to the story. I had already gone running in the morning, and then I definitely indulged in carbs that whole day, which normally isn't always part of my diet. I'm like keto like 70-80% of the time. And so after family left, because it was just a little family gathering, I decided maybe I'll go running again just to, I don't know, to feel better about myself, or I don't know what it was, but I also just needed to think. And I actually ended up walking 3 miles. So I was out for a little while. And, obviously if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that we're pretty open about our life. We're pretty open about what we're doing every day. There's pretty much not a day that I am not sharing something from my life. And, obviously a big part of it is that I am for the most part an open person, but also, again, I'm a business owner and I'm an entrepreneur. And part of that, for any of you that do something like that, is marketing. And social media is a free platform that does reach a lot of people. And so on a daily basis, I'm using words like engagement and algorithm and reach and photo quality and words like drip and pull, and all these things are part of my daily vocabulary, because in what I do, I also train a team to, reach their own goals and success and whatever they want. And so I want to go back a little bit because, I think a lot of people see my life now, and please hear me out. I am not complaining. I know that I've been incredibly blessed. I've experienced a lot of success the last few years. I have beautiful kids. I have a good husband. I realize all these things, and I'm not complaining, but I want to be very real and say that it's not that the last few years have been absent of trials either. And, a few years ago, I would say like 6 or 7 years ago, it was really hard for me to be on social media. I was a single mom that had gone through divorce, and, that wasn't my plan A. And my son was diagnosed with autism, and for those of you that have been in that situation, you deal with guilt. What could I have done better? Am I doing enough? Will he be okay? And made a lot of choices that I regret. And I wasn't such a good person, and all these different things. And social media was a really, really hard place for me to be and see everyone else's seemingly perfect life. And because I think somewhere in there you start to compare, like, they have it all together and I don't, and all this stuff. And I think what I really had to start with was the inner work of, okay, well, and granted, I was still happy for everybody, but why do I feel that way? What is it within me that's causing me to look at these people and compare? And so I'm always really mindful of that, even in my daily sharing on social media of my life. I always, of course, try to bring a positivity to it, but also an authenticity, but at the same time, not air my dirty laundry. So I'm going to be the first one to tell you that, yes, in the last almost 4 years where I've definitely been oversharing, I've had, and for the sake of not going into details, because there's still some things I'm working through, there have been some really hard situations. There are days that I'm not so motivated, okay, to build my business. There are days that I have really questioned my role as a mother, as a wife, as a business owner in this field that I'm in, as a team leader. And I'm not saying that in a pithy way, like really wrestled with it, like really, there were months that I slipped back into depression again, which I had struggled with in the past. There were just lots of different scenarios in these past few years. And so when I was walking that night, I'm getting back to that story, and I'm thinking about engagement and reach, and I'm thinking about, because in my business, there are people that rise to the top, and you look at their social media and it's just so perfect. And I'm not knocking them if you're one of those people. And what I realized was that social media is our highlight reel. And I know we've heard this a lot, but while social media is so awesome, I'm realizing, am I that person in people's life that they're trying to just get through the day and be a better version of themselves, and then I'm coming in like some jerk sending a message of, well, if you shut off the TV, if you didn't eat that second cookie, if you were a better mom, better wife, or whatever. And granted, listen, I know I'm not going to make everyone happy. You can't live that way. It doesn't matter what you do. People are going to have opinions about that. When in reality, I'm going through the same things. I'm wrestling with going to bed and, oh my gosh, I was supposed to do that today and I didn't accomplish that. And, my husband and I got into this ridiculous fight, and I said things that were really, really awful, like things that were shared that I'd be so ashamed of. I got really mad at my kids. Like, did I give enough attention to my kids today? Oh my gosh, like here I am advocating this ketogenic diet, and I'm a representative for a health and wellness company. Do they even know that I went through a drive-through today? Okay. Things like that, and again, and even worse things. And so I was thinking about this, and I was like, you know what social media lacks? Because while you can put a filter on a picture, you can't put a filter on life. And so I'm just really vowing going forward to just bring more realness and authenticity, because at the end of the day, like when I die and go to heaven, while yes, I am incredibly passionate about this business that I do, and I know it works, and I know I'm with the best company, and I know these products work, and I'm incredibly passionate about it, none of those things I can take to heaven with me. And while I do believe the products are for everybody, I will be the first to say that maybe the business isn't. And what would I have wanted my message to be? Somebody that, oh look, that girl had it all together and she was so successful? Or Lord knows, you moms out there, what do we say? It's hard to make mom friends, right? Just valuing more connection. And I wonder if we really did aim to connect versus portray this seemingly perfect life, that we have it all together. If, Tony Robbins, he's one of the, I'm always listening to audio books and all that stuff. Tony Robbins, love him or hate him, it doesn't matter. He has a lot of good things. And one of the things he was saying is that we are always so chunked out. And you're like, is he saying we're fat? No. What he's saying is that we put so much emotional energy into thinking how hard something is going to be than if we just did the energy in doing it. For example, I hate folding the laundry. Thank God Sean is home. That's his job. There's other chores that I love doing that he doesn't. Have you ever dreaded folding the laundry? You're like, oh, this is going to be terrible. And then you do it and you're like, that wasn't that bad. Or even going to go exercise, you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be awful. But then when you're done, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I think we put so much emotional energy into, even without realizing it, comparing ourselves to other people's lives on social media, when in reality, if we were a little bit more vulnerable and aimed for connection, we could realize that we're all in this together and get to the real work, not spend so much emotional energy in thinking how we're lacking, how we'll never get to that place, how we'll never be able to do what that girl does, or look like that girl, or be that type of mom, or have that type of life, that we could really get to the work of fixing the only thing that really matters is just right here. And I've understood that power in my own life, that when you work on what's in here, everything else around you begins to change. When you align, you know, your heart with God's will and what he has for you and what it says in his word, that everything else changes around. So I guess that's just kind of what I'm aiming for now. Not so much perfection, which I've always tried to be original and be real, but just to tell you that, you know, it's not hearts and roses around here. And I am always, every day, like, you know, one of the things I struggle with is perfection. I've always been a type A person, and I've really had to let that go and realize that if I'm doing my best and trying to do better the next day, that I'm doing well, right? And so I just wanted to come out here and say that that's just going to kind of be more my topic. And anyways, I hope that really speaks to somebody today, because it's been something I've been thinking about a lot in this whole thing that I do. All right, guys, bye.